You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm Brandon Sewell. Tennessee State Senator Raumesh Akbari has represented District 29 in Nashville since 2018. Before that, she was the State House Representative for District 91. She has been an outspoken supporter of criminal justice reform, economic development in underserved communities, healthcare expansion, and public education investment. State Senator Akbari joins us virtually from Washington, D.C. Thank you for coming on the show, Ms. Akbari.
It's my pleasure. Looking forward to our discussion.
So I want to first talk about the political climate that America is in right now. What are your top concerns?
My top concerns really is kind of this attack on our democracy, where you have elected officials who are unwilling to compromise for great policy. They put politics over people. I think what we saw on January the 6th is something that most of us could not have imagined happening in America. Right. So I think we've got to get back to having conversations with each other. Our civil discourse has to improve. Otherwise, our democracy will continue to suffer.
Do you have any concerns at the state level?
On a state level, I think the same thing. I mean, honestly, they used to say in the General Assembly, we're not like those people in Washington. We can actually talk to each other. And I worry that as people get more and more partisan, they go to their own corners, whether the extreme left or the extreme right. We're not having conversations. And when we don't talk about our issues, there's so much that we have in common, and we can work towards better solutions. So I am concerned about that, about hyperpartisanship.
So let's dive into the last legislative session. So there were a lot of education-related bills that were passed. Which ones did you support, and which do you oppose?
Well, I was one of the few Democrats that supported a new funding for our school system. That would have put an additional $100 million into Memphis and Shelby County schools, which is really important to me. I think that literacy is one of our #1 issues that we have addressed statewide. Kids are not reading on a grade level, and after 3rd grade, you should be, reading to learn, not still learning to read. Some things that I did not support, of course, had to do with some of these slate of hate bills attacking trans students, LGBTQ students. I think that, every child, no matter who they identify as or anything else, should be able to learn in a safe environment. So that was kind of what I didn't really agree with. There were some conversations around athletes that were kneeling on a collegiate level. I think that was too far of an intrusion into their individual rights of expression as well.
Well, which bill do you think will have the most impact for Shelby County?
Well, I think the school funding formula bill will have the most impact this year because it will put those additional funds into our budget. However, specifically for Germantown schools is the 3G bill, which I was firmly against because I think that Germantown had an opportunity to educate students at Germantown High School and the other 2 schools, and they chose not to. They gave that right to Memphis Shelby County schools, and you as a student and parents and teachers deserve stability and to know that there's not going to be this jockeying between school districts over a school. You should be able to start at 9th grade and know that you're going to finish there in your 12th grade year.
So speaking of the 3G bill, what do you think is the future going forward for the 3G schools?
Well, I think there are 3 options. The way the law is written, there has to be some sort of agreement between Germantown and Memphis Shelby County schools so that they can continue to operate. However, there's an existing agreement that was put in place by a federal court 8 years ago that directly conflicts with the new law. So I could see there being a lawsuit there, or I could see a long-term lease where Memphis Shelby County schools leases those buildings from Germantown if they agree to turn them over. And then, of course, the possibility of having to build a school altogether and fund a major issue for that.
So I know from my research that you were opposed to the school voucher law. What were your concerns?
Well, I think, quite frankly, with the voucher bill, it was not complete enough, right? So you were not providing transportation to the kids that would take advantage of the voucher. You're not providing additional funding for, social programs, for books, for anything like that. And we haven't seen any evidence that these private schools, children are performing at a higher level on state tests than our traditional public school students, and it really shifts resources away. So I think that if we want to improve public schools, we have to invest more in our public schools. That really is a solution. And if we look at other states that have adopted these vouchers, like Florida or Wisconsin or Arizona, the students have not achieved more. If they were achieving more, I would be in support of it, but I can't support something that I know is not going to really help our students.
So as far as that voucher law, do you think it should be improved upon, or do you think it should be scrapped?
Well, I think as it's written, it should be scrapped because it's written only to apply to Nashville and Memphis, which really on its face is unconstitutional. So there's ongoing litigation around that. But it definitely, first of all, if you're talking about something, it should have statewide implication. It should have built-in guardrails for if a child is actually improving or not, because we're talking about public taxpayer dollars that are going to a private entity.
Right.
And whether you're talking about education or business, you want to see that there is a return on that investment of public dollars.
So would you say that Tennessee is going in the right educational direction?
I think Tennessee is trying, right? So the funding formula to add additional funds based on a student's individual needs, whether they are in a concentration area of high concentration of poverty, a rural district, English is their second language, any of those factors increases the amount of funding per student. I think that's important. I do think that we have to be a little bit more deliberate about how we are paying and recruiting and retaining our teachers. And we also have to really think continue to think more along the lines of not just the traditional four-year college, but making sure that young people have an opportunity to go into a technical career or right into a job when they graduate, because the job market demands it. We have to look 20 years down the line, what are we preparing kids to be as an adult? Or are we still kind of, in the stone ages in that regard?
So looking ahead, are there any bills you're looking forward to getting passed?
Certainly. I mean, education or otherwise, I really would like to look at school discipline. When we look at some of the crime issues in Memphis and across the state, a lot of those people were juvenile offenders. So what happened when they were arrested as a child? What sort of rehabilitation were they given? What sort of resources? How were they shown an alternative to kind of maybe what they saw in their neighborhood? So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about, again, like I said, looking at the use of exclusionary discipline. I don't believe that kindergartners and first graders should be suspended because if they behave poorly, I don't even know if they know what that means unless they're endangering someone. And then, of course, continuing to address literacy. That's just the number one key. That is a ticket for most people in education. If you cannot read, you cannot learn. And that to me is something I'm looking to continue to address.
Well, Ms. Akbari, thank you for joining us virtually from D.C. I enjoyed talking with you.
I did as well. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to talking to you soon.
I want to thank all our guests for being on the show today. And I want to remind all of our viewers to go out and vote. Early voting starts October 19th, and you can vote on Election Day, which is November 8th. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm Brandon Sewell. From all of us here at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.